Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk all about how to prepare in advance for your upcoming design project or your home renovation to make sure that you put your money where it matters most so that you finish your project loving the end result. So you've decided that it's time to make the investment into your home. Maybe you are doing it for your own sake so you can better enjoy your living space, or maybe you're thinking about future resale value of your home and wanting to update it so that it's ready when it hits the market. Whatever the reason, we got to make sure that we use our budget and that we spend it well. So at the end of your reno, you want to be able to look back and say, I put my money in where it matters most. Now, I'm not talking about the specific room of your house for resale value. Everyone says that kitchens and bathrooms sell homes. So if you're going to be redoing your kitchen or your bathroom, obviously you're going to add resale value to your home, but you don't want to overspend. And nor do you want to put money into something that you actually realize wasn't that important to you once you start using it. You want to put your money in where it's actually going to matter the most to you for your purposes. Before I get into any design project with any clients, I always say, what is your priority? If you could only do one thing in this space, what would it be? Now, typically they have way more than one thing they want to do, but the first few things that come to mind typically are the priorities. So that might mean, well, I need a new sofa. I absolutely need a new sofa. Oh, but I also need a new coffee table. Oh, and I'd really like some new art. And I think I might want to paint the walls. You know, like your mind begins to go. But the first thing that came out of your mouth was, I need a new sofa. That tells me that that's actually one of the priorities, that should be put right to the top of your spending list. So I'm going to use my home as an example. I will link to our kitchen reno below so you can see what we did there. But when we were getting ready for the kitchen renovation, we knew we had a limited budget. In fact, we knew that we had a smaller budget than most kitchens can actually be done for. But we wanted to make sure that we put the money where it mattered the most. So we talked about, we want a white kitchen, we want white cupboards, we want to have gold hardware, we want to have an island, we want a gas stove. We talked about all the things that we wanted. But then when we got actually looking at it, we realized, okay, so yeah, we want new cupboards and we want white cupboards. But do we want really great, incredibly custom built white cupboards? Or are we satisfied with an IKEA kitchen with a 30-year warranty, but it's just not going to have the custom features available like somewhere else? Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. So we ended up saying we're not going to put our money into the cupboards in our kitchen, but we wanted to put our money into the countertops and specifically giving us an island with a water flow countertop edge. So things like that. Where do you, when it actually comes down to the dollars and cents, yes, you want white cupboards. Well, what kind of white cupboards do you want? Also consider, are you the kind of person who you're willing to do this in stages? If you want to do this in stages, then you can take your money out and put it in the things that are going to be like the hardest to do, or the most time consuming, or the most cause the most disruption to everyday life. So say you have a chunk of money set aside and you realize once you price out some things that you really can only right now do your hardwood floors and painting. Well, that's incredible. Get the awkward time of living through putting down new flooring over with, even having to get your home painted and how kind of cumbersome that can be to live through. Get those things out of the way. Why? Because right away you've put money where it matters most to you. Now you get to enjoy the space with a fresh coat of paint, with beautiful new floors. And yeah, that's all you've updated. You've not done one thing to make the house look any different, but just by investing in what matters most to you, the value that you have for the time you're spending in your home will increase. And that's ultimately what's really important, is loving being in the space that you're in. If I'm going to be honest, the majority of the population will never get that aha before and after moment. They will get bursts of it when they come home from work and they see the main floor has been redone and now they have the hardwoods that they really wanted. They'll have that moment of, wow, I love my floors. And then a couple weeks later, they'll come home and be like, wow, my living room got painted. It looks so great. And maybe a year down the road when you've saved up more money and you get that new sofa put in, you're like, wow, the living room's starting to look really great. That's going to be the average person's experience when they redo their home. It's not going to be the average person's experience to have the whole thing done top to bottom and then you have this stunning before and after moment like you see on TV. So prepare yourself for that. Prepare yourself for knowing you're going to get to experience this over time as it unfolds so that all along you're putting your money in where it matters most. I know a handful of designers who say that one of the first things you should consider when you're doing your space is your area rugs. If you have the ability to do that, then by all means consider your area rugs, not just the size, but the actual area rug itself. When we did our renovation here, that was the first thing on my list was these light fixtures that you can't see behind me. And this area rug that I saw at West Elm, I fell in love with it. I was like, this is perfect for the space. And they became like the two keys that I built the whole design around. But guess what happened? We got a puppy. And when we got a puppy, people said, hey, put your area rug away. The dog's going to chew through your carpet. And I was like, no, she won't. Well, she did. And so after a couple of years of having this beautiful area rug, there was some holes that got chewed into it, which I then covered with an ottoman for a while. And then I even layered a smaller rug over that part of the rug to hide it. And then after a number of years, we were like, you know what? It's garbage. Guess what, guys? The design of my room stayed looking great. Everything that I had built around that area rug still works without the area rug. So consider, do you want to start with an area rug as the foundation to your room or not? Just give it some thought. It's one of those things that people often don't even give thought of until after the fact, but you might want to give it some thought at the beginning, even if you don't end up buying it at the beginning, or even if you don't end up using that one at all. At least you've given some thought to how you're going to ground your space when all is said and done. I will say this, it has been my experience that many people don't give enough consideration to area rugs. So while I don't think it needs to be the foundation of the room, I also think that there really needs to be some serious consideration given to it since it is going to ground the entire space and pull it all together. Another thing to consider while you're working out your budget is what you're going to be doing with paint. Guys, paint is super inexpensive. It is a wonderful way to spruce something up. So before you consider getting a new table or new chairs or a new dresser or whatever, look at the quality of it and think, can I just sand this down and paint it? Maybe all it needs is a fresh coat of inexpensive paint to bring it to life, and then you could put that money that you were going to spend in a new one elsewhere. Okay, talking about paint, let me just throw this out there. A lot of time is spent on picking like the perfect paint color. But can I just say this? Paint is paint. You could put a paint color up today and in a year, 2 years from now be like, you know what? I don't like that. I'm going to change it. And it's not the end of the world. It's inexpensive. It's a wonderful way to change out the way your space looks. You don't need to agonize over getting the perfect paint color selected. In fact, when we did our main floor reno, one of the things that was really important to me at the time was to do white walls. Now, this was like 5 years ago, and white walls were not a massive thing back then the way they are now. But I thought I'm going to be painting the interior doors all through my house blue. So I don't want to have a paint color on the walls and blue doors, color in the area rug and color in the throw pillows and color in the art. I thought, no, I want the walls to just blend into the background and everything else in the room to pop in front of them. So that's why I selected white. I did white on the walls, white on the trim, white on the ceiling, and it's the backdrop for everything. But then a couple years later, I was like, you know what? I really like the whole idea of a black wall. So I painted one of my walls in my living room black. It's a simple thing you can do to update the space, and literally it took a couple hours of my time and it was done. So don't stress over paint. Give it some thought. Make sure you're choosing, something you're going to like and want to live with, but don't stress over it. It's not the end of the world if you get it wrong. I think one thing that I see people not budget enough for when they're planning to do some sort of design project or home renovation is the stuff that you can't see. So the electrical work that needs to be done, the plumbing that might need to be done, the professionals who are going to come in and install your tiles or do your drywall and mud and tape things, all that kind of stuff. we don't put enough money aside to pay the experts in their field. And we really do. We need to make sure we have enough money set aside because that stuff's going to cost. And some of that stuff you just don't want to attempt on your own. Some of it is dangerous to attempt on your own. Some of it just looks terrible if it's attempted on your own. So make sure you budget for all of the unseen but necessary expenses. Depending on the size renovation you're doing, you might want to consider budgeting for food. I know that sounds crazy, but let me tell you, when we renovated our kitchen, we lived here while we were renovating our kitchen. We have one bathroom, and this was our only other sink, and it became out of commission. Our stove was completely out of commission. We moved the kitchen from one side of the main floor to the other side of the main floor. So we literally had no counter space, no kitchen space at all. And I naively set up a room in the basement that was like a storage room with a microwave and a little mini fridge. And I was like, we're just gonna take it easy and like have easy meals. Not for 7 weeks we weren't. No way. For 7 weeks we were not going to be down there having toast week after week after week. So we ended up spending money on eating out that we had not prepared for. So whenever I'm talking to people who are doing a kitchen renovation and living through it, I say budget money for food. That way your family can still be well nourished and taken care of, and you don't have the stress of trying to prepare every meal in a tiny little corner of your home that was not intended to function as a kitchen. Also prepare for the unexpected. We put a certain amount of money aside and said, we know something's going to come up that we're not prepared for, so we need to have some money set aside for that. Now, it depends on how big the job is, but it could be once you rip back the walls in your home, you might find there's like asbestos or mold or, I don't know, carpenter ants or something that you really need to get taken care of. You never know what the issue might be, but having no money set aside only means you're either going to go in debt or you're going to have to start cutting things from your budget. And neither of those is really fun. So if you can set some money aside at the beginning for unexpected expenses, then at least you're somewhat prepared should something happen. You still might need to cut out some other things if something crazy happens, but at least you still have something set aside. Always work with a trusted contractor. If you get multiple quotes for your space and you find that there are some that are super cheap and then some that are more expensive, do a little bit more investigating as to why the prices are so different. Sometimes people will give you a really cheap price to get the job, but then they're not going to give you the quality of service, they're not going to stick to the timeline, and big surprise, they're not going to stick to the budget. Getting a really good contractor is absolutely worth the investment. So do your research and set aside enough money to make sure that you get the best contractor you can within your budget. If you live in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, I highly recommend Les Anderson Construction. Yes, he is my father-in-law. Yes, he has been in business for years, and the work he does is impeccable. Check him out. I will link his website below. When working with a budget, I think it's really important that you don't get your heart set on specifics. What I mean by that is, if your heart is set on a beautiful backsplash that you've seen on TV, and you budget a certain amount of money for your kitchen reno, and then you go to the tile store and you realize that tile is like a third of the entire kitchen budget, you're going to be heartbroken. But if instead you can kind of set your mind on a vibe or a feel or an overall look that you're going for, then your designer can help you achieve that with multiple different ways. It doesn't have to be the backsplash that you saw. You could still come up with other ways to get the final vibe you wanted while keeping within your budget. If you live your life being generous and caring about the needs of other people and where possible helping people, using your gifts and talents and even your resources to help other people, then when you're going through a season like a home reno, chances are it's going to come back to you. That's just kind of the way that it works. And Jeff and I found that when we were doing our renovation, we had so many people contact us and say, we want to do this part of your reno for you as a thank you. You've invested a lot into our lives and we want to give back. We had other people who we had no relationship with, but who were so thankful for the amount of work that our father-in-law's contracting company had sent their way that they didn't charge us for some of the work that they put into doing our reno. Live a generous life and it will come back to you at moments when you least expect it, and maybe when you need it most. Okay, now this tip kind of like supersedes personalities and your natural nature, so it might be kind of hard for some of you, but it is this: relax. Relax. You are not living on a TV show that in a matter of 30 minutes, you're going to see the before, the process, and the after. You're actually living through the job. So just relax. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be messy. You're going to have frustrating moments. Your spouse is going to be short times. You're going to be short at times. Just relax. You're going to get through it and come out on the other side. Your space is going to be lovely. It's not worth losing your joy over because you're getting inconvenienced for ultimately a really great reason. So one thing that I kind of take through life is this whole idea of there are certain things that are inherent in each one of us that were put there for a reason. And that means that when I'm doing a design project or a home renovation or something, I need to see what's me, and I need to reach in and grab hold of the things that I like and the things that I think are beautiful and the things that are going to bring me joy in my home. That means not worrying about what's trendy, not worrying about what's cool, not worrying about what other people might think, and just being confident to be the you that you were created to be. And that might mean you make some creative decisions that other people don't like. But at the end of the day, you do you, being the you were created to be, and then ultimately living in this beautiful space that represents you and that you love. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And finally, I would say this: budget for the finishing touches. The difference between the aha moment that you get at the end of your favorite design show and what you're going to experience when you walk into your finished renovation or your finished design project really is going to come down to the details. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but finishing touches are what elevates a space and makes it look completed. So if you walk into your living room and there's a sofa and 2 pillows, a coffee table and 2 chairs, you're going to be a little bit underwhelmed. But if you have a little bit of money set aside, a little bit of creativity, and you can get a vase and go outside and get some really large branches and put them in that vase, or if you can get a throw blanket maybe from another room of the house or from an inexpensive store and throw a throw blanket over the arm of the sofa, if you can layer an area rug, or if you can put some art that is meaningful to you on the walls, or maybe frame some family photos that really mean a lot, but the frames are like from the dollar store or from IKEA. Do the little things at the end that are the finishing touches that make it feel cozy and home and like you, because that's really what's going to make you feel like you love your space. So these are some of the tips that I have for when you're planning to do your own design project or your own renovation. Hey, I would love to hear yours too. So please comment any tips that you have below. I'd love to hear them, and maybe I could share them with some of my viewers as well. Guys, if you like these videos, please subscribe. Please click that bell so you're notified when a new video is released. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and remember, you're loved.